I felt it the moment she walked in the door. Her perfume was different, sharper, almost pungent, and it hit me like a warning siren I hadn't been trained to hear. It was Thanksgiving, and the house smelled of roasting turkey and cinnamon, the kind of comforting aromas that should have made me feel safe. But instead they made me tense, alert, my stomach twisting. She dropped her coat, her eyes darting around like she was searching for someone, or something. Then she slammed her hands on the table and said without preamble, "I can't believe you did this." My fork clattered against my plate. "Did what?" I asked, though a sinking feeling already pooled in my chest. "You know exactly what," she snapped, her voice breaking between anger and frustration. She was expecting tears, I realized, a dramatic collapse, a vulnerable husband falling apart under the weight of her rage. I felt something harden inside me instead. I didn't feel fear. I felt clarity. In the weeks leading up to this day, the cracks had been subtle but unmistakable. First, I questioned myself. She would step out to take a work call, and return with her eyes distant, a trace of lipstick at the corner of her mouth that wasn't hers. I noticed her phone buzzing incessantly at odd hours, messages that vanished before I could even glance at the screen. I blamed my imagination, tired from long days, overthinking what had once been simple trust. But the doubt grew like a slow ache in my chest. Then came the little lies, the strange excuses that made no sense. "I stayed late for the project," she'd say, but her tone was too sharp, too rehearsed. I remembered how we used to talk for hours about everything. Our hopes, our frustrations, our future. Now, conversations felt like transactions, coded words hiding more than they revealed. I started replaying moments in my head, searching for signs I had missed. The secretive smiles, the late-night messages, the occasional distant laugh. I discovered the truth in a way that broke me silently before I confronted her. A friend, who had noticed her recent behavior, called me quietly one morning. "I think you should check her phone," he said, hesitantly, as if sharing a secret that would shatter everything. I didn't want to believe it, but a seed had already been planted. I went home that night, hands trembling as I unlocked her phone. In a rare moment she had left it unattended. The messages I found weren't physical affairs, not in the traditional sense, but they were intimate, coded conversations that left nothing to imagination. Months of emotional betrayal, the kind that erodes love quietly, layer by layer. When she erupted at the table that Thanksgiving, I felt none of the dramatic collapse she had anticipated. Instead, I pulled out my phone, called my lawyer, and put the line on speaker. Her eyes widened, confusion and anger mixing in a way that made my stomach twist. Not with fear, but with power I didn't realize I had been reclaiming all these months. "Hello, John," I said calmly, my voice steady while my heart raced. "Yes, I think it's time to discuss the division of assets in custody." Her face went pale, lips parting as if to shout, to plead, to strike. She had expected tears. She had expected me to beg, to plead, to crumble under her fury. Instead, the legal scaffolding I had quietly built over months, bank statements, emails, texts, witnesses, was all in place. The armor I had constructed with my grief and suspicion was now solid and impenetrable. I listened as my lawyer walked through the terms I had prepared, the protections, the boundaries, the evidence she had left behind herself. And all the while she raged, screamed, tried to interject. Her words collided with the authority of the voice on speaker, bouncing off a wall she hadn't anticipated. For the first time I saw her not as my partner, but as someone trapped by her own actions, a person who had assumed manipulation could control reality indefinitely. I felt waves of grief hit me in that moment, a raw, deep ache for what we once had. I remembered her laughter on our first Thanksgiving together, the way she used to lean into me, her hand resting on my arm as if the world outside didn't exist. And yet, I also remembered the late nights, the unexplained absences, the hollow conversations that had slowly eroded the foundation of our marriage. Those memories hurt, but they also clarified the path I had to take. She tried to reach for me across the table, voice cracking. "I didn't mean for it to go this far. I hung up my phone and sat back, letting the silence stretch between us. "You just what?" I asked quietly. My voice was calm, but it carried the weight of months of realization, of quiet suffering, of watching someone I loved slowly drift into deceit. Her face crumpled, the anger giving way to something like guilt, maybe regret. She was human, deeply flawed, capable of love and capable of harm. I understood that intellectually, but my heart could not reconcile the betrayal with the affection I had once felt. Love had been weaponized in our marriage, and I was done being collateral damage. The emotional fallout was brutal. In the weeks that followed, I replayed the Thanksgiving confrontation over and over in my mind. I remembered the way she had screamed, the way the conversation had unfolded over speaker, the surreal mix of rage, fear, and resignation in her eyes. And I remembered my own clarity, the sense of reclaiming control not through anger or tears, but through structure and foresight, the legal safety net I had woven while navigating the chaos of suspicion and heartbreak. Eventually, she admitted quietly, in moments I wasn't expecting, that she had felt trapped, lonely, and unsure of how to confront her dissatisfaction without causing harm. Her confession wasn't an excuse, it was an explanation, a human admission that her choices were born from fear and frustration, not mere malice. I listened, nodded, acknowledged, but the damage was irreversible. Trust, once fractured, cannot be easily restored. I learned something crucial that Thanksgiving. Preparation can be its own kind of strength, grief can coexist with clarity, and love does not obligate us to endure betrayal passively. Standing across from her, I realized that sometimes the only way to protect yourself is to let go of the performance the other person expects and face reality with unflinching honesty. The final months of our separation were quiet, tense, but necessary. Legal boundaries were established, emotional ones even more so. I grieved, I reflected, I rebuilt. And in that process, I discovered a resilience I hadn't known existed. The ability to confront deception, reclaim agency, and survive heartbreak without losing my own identity. Thanksgiving is still hard. Every year, the aromas, the laughter, the traditions stir echoes of what we lost. But I remember that moment at the table, speakerphone crackling between us, as a turning point. A moment when betrayal met its counterweight not in tears, but in measured clarity, in self-preservation, and in the realization that the most powerful response to rage is not to meet it with submission, but to face it with unshakable resolve. And as I carve the turkey now, alone or with new company, I carry that lesson with me. Love can break, but integrity can endure.